Hello, everyone. Good morning, and welcome to this new info session that we have organized for the Standardisation 2029 edition, as we have a new funding opportunity now available, and it is a pilot opportunity. So we thought it was useful to have an info session in this case for all of you to know how to submit an application. As you know, I am Teresa Ridolfi, and I am the Open Call Manager for Sendai City 2029. And we also have Maria Giuffrida, who is the Sendai City 2029 coordinator.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome.
I will now share my slides. Okay. I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, not now also in presentation mode.
Okay, perfect. So just a few housekeeping notes. This event, as you have seen, has been recording, and will be also available on the event page after it's over, together with the slides as well. Of course, we will also have a few minutes at the end of the session if you have any questions or any doubts on the things we will explain. And also, you can always follow us, as you know, on our through our website and social media accounts mainly. So as I was saying at the beginning, this info session is dedicated to a new type of open call that we have introduced in the new edition of Standard City 2029, which is the standardization meetings open calls. These open calls have been launched a few weeks ago on the 12th of June, and they have let's say they don't have a precise deadline, as we do not have too much budget on this funding opportunity, and for this reason we have decided that we will keep them open until the funding is available. As I was saying, so for this call, we have an available budget that amounts around to 200,000 euros. And in this case, let's say also the evaluation process, it's a bit different from the usual open calls, as we will have, let's say, evaluation batches, which means that since the call will be available up until the budget has expired, we will evaluate the calls based on the number of submissions and also on the timeline of the meetings. So potentially, let's say, applicants that have already submitted their application in June or are going to submit them in July will potentially expect the feedback during the month of September 2026. Of course, as this call is dedicated to the organization of meetings, we are checking weekly the submissions, in particular to see the timeline and the event date of the submitted application, so that we can also adapt the evaluation process to the timeline of the events. So this call, as I was saying, is a call which is dedicated to the organization of technical meetings of international SDOs that are hosted in Europe, so within member states or associated countries. The objective, of course, is to, let's say, attract and also host in Europe those events that otherwise would be organized elsewhere in the world. And we have implemented this new funding opportunity as we think that hosting these strategic working sessions in Europe, it's really a mitigation in terms also of logistical and geographical barriers. And this approach will, of course, also facilitate, we hope at least that this approach will facilitate the broader participation from European specialists, academics, and SMEs. So also supporting them and empowering them to shape and influence the future technological specifications. As for the type of contributions, this call has a funding scheme which is a bit different from the ones we are used to, as the maximum funding per application is set at €50,000. And the same organization, in this case, of course, since the budget we are funding is quite high, can only be awarded once under this scheme for the whole duration of the project. Also, fellowships in this case can last for a maximum duration of 6 months, depending, of course, also on the timeline of the meeting, the type of meeting that you are organizing, the time that you might need for the organizational purposes and so on. So this means that you can be awarded for a maximum amount of €50,000 for a maximum duration of 6 months. In terms of the people we are addressing to, let's say, in this case, the financial support is rewarded to organizations that are based in a European member state or an associated country, but of course located within the European Union and with a demonstrable role in the coordination and the support of the organization of these meetings on behalf, of course, of the international SDOs. So in this case, we are not funding people, we are funding, of course, organization and consortia. The meetings in this case, of course, they need to be aligned with the scope, with the ICT rolling plan, and let's say the role, of course, of the policy areas of the ICT rolling plan in this case is very important. And in terms also of the activities that you can, let's say, add within the application form in terms also of the organization of these events. In this case, of course, these activities must be clearly identified and not double funded. Of course, let's say co-funding from other sources is permitted, but the activities that you are, of course, let's say, inserting in the application form for this standardization meeting open call must be only funded by Standardisation 2029. Also, as I was saying at the beginning, since the budget we are providing is quite high, in this case, the same organization can only be awarded once. And so you cannot, as it is, for instance, in the regular, let's say, open calls, in this case, you cannot apply for a continuation of the previously funding activities. So if you're planning to organize, I don't know, a follow-up meeting, in this case, it will not be possible to have the funding of the SM, the standardization meeting open call, if you have already been funded before. Also, in case you are not funded, though, you can, of course, resubmit the application up until, of course, the call is open, addressing the gaps and the different weaknesses that have been identified in the consensus report. So in terms of budget and eligible costs, and also financial aspects, which are a bit different from the regular open call, here we have, of course, the eligible cost. Let's say they are related to the organization of the event. So you have the budget item for the event organization costs. So you can provide the venue rental, the equipment, the catering, and so on. You can also, of course, include the travel and accommodation for the purposes of the event organization. You can also pay the internal and external speakers that you are planning to have during the event, and to invite, of course, and also, of course, the personal working effort you are requiring for the organization of the meeting. All these cost items, as always, they need to be described and justified in the application form. And in this case, in terms of financial aspect, the grant is not released as a single lump sum, but it is divided into an initial prepayment once you will be, let's say, awarded, and a final balance paid after the event has taken place. In this case, to release, let's say, the final payment, you will need, of course, as it is for the other open calls, to provide and submit a report which will detail all the meeting outcomes, the receipt, and the invoices, so that we can also, of course, ensure the accountability and verify the results of your activities. And as I was saying, the maximum funding available to each applicant is 50,000 euros. And also, applicants in this case must ensure that the total they have requested is reimbursable, and all the costs, let's say, that remain entirely within this limit. So expenses, let's say, that will exceed this amount will not be funded, will not be covered in this case. We can cover you up to 50,000 euros. Also, one last point in terms, of course, always of documentation, results and everything. The final deadline for providing all the post-event documentations is no later than the 31st of August 2028. For, of course, internal reason of the project, the reporting and everything. So how these calls will be evaluated, these applications will be evaluated. The criteria for evaluation are a bit different from the regular open calls that we have under Standardisation 2029, because in this case, each proposal will be evaluated on the basis of four criteria, which are a bit different from, let's say, the criteria that we have under the open calls. The first criterion is the strategic objective and the agenda. So here let's say here evaluator will be basically focused on the objective of your standardization meeting, the alignment to the European Commission priorities, and the coherence of the agenda. And this criteria has a weight of 20% in the overall final score of your application. Then we have the second criteria, which is the expected outcome and impact. And in this case, evaluators will be mainly focused on the deliverable feasibility, the impact validity, and also the strategic value of Standardicity involvement within the organization of this meeting. And this criteria has a higher weight of 35% in the overall final score. Then we will have the criterion 3 on implementation, team and budget justification. So here, of course, evaluators will check the team expertise, the operational planning for the organization of the event, and also the justification of the budget. And in this case, these criteria weights 30%. And then the final criterion 4 on inclusiveness and balance, that has a lower weight of 15%, and it's focused mainly on the assessment of the proactive measures for the organizational diversity, the inclusion, for instance, of SME, the demographic balance, and the geographic spread of the event. Of course, let's say, in order also to ensure that we will have an enough diverse and balanced portfolio of funded fellowships, and so also a diversity in terms of events organized under this funding opportunity, we will pay attention in particular to the organizational diversity. So during the final selection phase, the committee of evaluators will also ensure that the awarded proposals represent a wide variety of organizations that are affiliated, of course, with a wide range of different SDOs. So this is also, let's say, it's not one of the criterion, but it's still one of the things that will be checked during the evaluation process. In terms of, let's say, the possible outcomes of the evaluation, as you know, of course, in this case, let's say, applicants will be officially notified once the evaluations have taken place. But in this case, we have some differences also with the regular open calls, as we have different outcomes, because you can be funded, of course. So the proposal that you have submitted will be approved exactly as you have submitted it. You can also be funded though, but with some required modifications. So this means that your proposal is valuable and it has been positively awarded and selected for funding, but we would need you to adjust, let's say, some part of the proposal and make some specific adjustments which will be requested by the evaluators. Then we have the waiting list. So your proposal actually successfully meets the evaluation criteria but cannot be funded immediately because of budget limitations. And then, of course, we also have the not funded option. So in this case, your proposal has not been selected for funding. In this case, of course, if needed, you can resubmit the application following the suggestions made by the evaluation criteria. So, to close up, just a few points related to the relation also to the other open calls of Standard-ICT. So let's say that, as you know, we have the usual Standard-ICT calls where we still have to launch 4 different funding batches. And in this case, of course, these ones are submitted by individuals. On the other side, this call can be submitted on behalf of an organization or an SDO. So the logic in this call is completely different from our regular calls. And this call is also offered, let's say, to support the practical organization of meetings, in line also with the strategic goals and the priorities of this call. And so this means that in this call, you can be awarded only once, but there is no constraints, let's say, on application to other calls. So this call, of course, does not cover the activities that you usually cover with the regular open calls of Standard-ICT, so does not cover the technical work in a committee that you do as an expert. And so this means that traditional funded fellows can apply to this call if they have a demonstrable role in the coordination and the support of this standardization meeting organization. This means that traditional funded fellows can also, of course, apply, but of course they have to demonstrate to the evaluation committee that they have a strong role within the organization of these standardization meetings. One last point, which is actually quite important in this case, the platform where you are submitting the applications. As you might have noticed, if you have already, let's say, drafted your application for this funding batch, we are actually using a new version of the Trust Grants platform that will be released, let's say, in its final version, hopefully in the upcoming weeks. And so we wanted also to have a brief overview of the main differences, let's say, that we have in this new platform that we are using for this funding opportunity. So we will now.
Sorry, Teresa, before you move to the
You
tutorial.
want to address some questions, Maria?
No, there were some questions already in the chat that I already replied.
Okay.
So yeah, we don't have any new ones at the moment, but yeah, I invite everyone who has a question to type into the box or in the Q&A, the chat or the Q&A. I just wanted to say, as you know, a small remark. This is a pilot call, okay? So it's really a new type of experiment for us that we implemented upon initiative and request of the Commission. What does it mean? That's a pilot. It means that, you know, we are a little bit testing things and being also flexible in trying different approaches with the management of this call and the award of the funding. The budget we have is kind of limited for this, you know, type of events and the impact they have. So also when we will get back to you with the results, you will see a report, but you know, it will rarely be a yes or no. It may be a reply that maybe you have to adjust something or change something, because we have this type of flexibility in adjusting the scope of the meeting so that it is aligned with the interest of the project and the EU policies. And I just want to highlight that Teresa already mentioned, but the really priority for us is to fund those meetings that could happen anywhere in the world, but thanks also to this support, they will happen in Europe. So we want to use this money to really bring to Europe meetings that could be held anywhere. So the focus is on those international meetings that normally few Europeans can attend for the logistics problems, the travel, and etc. Okay, so just this small note from me. And also on the sharing of the results, we are checking the date of the event when you submit your proposal. So in case it's an event that's happening very soon, we will try to give you the feedback in time before the event, so that if you are not funded, you can, activate yourself to find an alternative. That's all. So thank you, Teresa. You can proceed.
Thanks, Maria. So as you can see, I am now on the Standardization Meetings open call webpage. And as usual, we click here to apply, and you can see now this is more or less, let's say, the view, the draft view that we will have in the new trust grants. Here you can see the different programs, and in this case you will see that we have one active open call, which is the one for the organization of standardization meeting. So once you click here, you will see all the, of course, the relevant points of the application, the open call. You will see the description, and you will also have, of course, the website available in case you need more information. If you click here on apply, then you will need to log in. Now the login at the moment, it's a bit, let's say, under development. We will have to adjust this. For, let's say, it's a bit difficult maybe now to understand, but the point here is that if you have already applied to Standardicity open calls, and this means that you already have an account on the website, you can log in with the project credentials, and you will be redirected with within, let's say, the page with your credentials that you already have. If you have never on the other side applied to our open calls, and so you do not have an account on the Standardicity website, in this case you will have to create a new account. So if you now click on the project credential login and you select your role, of course this is you will then click on the call and apply. So in this case, as you can see, this is, let's say, the overview. You can also download your application once you have completed it. And you have the tasks to be completed, which are basically the application form. So here you can submit all the required information. You will also have different pages, of course, because the application form is quite long. And once you have filled in all the different questions, of course, then you will be able also to move to the next page. Of course, all the questions are required. So here then you can see we have the general information of the applicant, the application general information, where you will need to add the title of the event, the start date of the meeting and the end date of the meeting, the format of the event you are organizing, so if it's an in-person event or a hybrid event, where it will be, the international SDO, the consortium that will endorse the meeting, the specific technical committees and working groups that are involved, the, of course, policy area of the ICT rolling plan you are addressing with this meeting, and the topics addressed by your event. Then we have the section on the strategic objective and the agenda, where you will have to identify the specific objectives of the event and underline what is, let's say, the alignment with the European Commission priority, and also provide a draft agenda and the technical topics that you will discuss. And also more or less, let's say, as a much completed as possible, let's say, list of the main speakers, the chairpersons, the participants, and so on. Then we have the section on the expected outcome. So here you will have simply, let's say, to explain why you are organizing the meeting and what is the outcome you are expecting from the meeting. And also outline the follow-up activities after the meeting. And then we have the budget section. Of course, you will have also to describe the team organization and also who will be the technical experts involved and so on. Provide more or less a realistic timeline for the preparation and execution of the meeting. Also, if possible, with a risk management plan. And then you will have the the budget items, of course. Each of these ones are, of course, mandatory. So this means that, for instance, if you don't need one of these ones, I don't know, maybe you don't need money for the catering, then here you have to add 0. And of course, then describe that you do not need this cost item in this case. Otherwise, you will not be able to move to the next step. One final point, which is something that we are working on, hoping to fix it as soon as possible, but this is important for you to know. This final voice will be automatically calculated. So this means that you will insert all the cost items, and then in the end, of course, the overall requested grants is automatically calculated by the grants platform. And in theory, it is editable, but of course, we recommend you not to edit this part, as it is an automatic calculation that the trust grants does, and we need it to be, let's say, as more precise as possible. And then we have the last session, which is the one of the inclusiveness and balance. And so here you will have mainly to describe, let's say, the measures you will implement in order to ensure a balanced representation of the individuals in terms also of gender equality. Also in terms of the next generation standardization experts, so young people and so on, and also in geographical terms. And then how you will ensure, let's say, the organizational diversity of the organization committee of your event. Once you will have complete everything, you can save the form as a draft. Of course, now it is not valid because I still need to add all the other points that I left. And this is very important. As you can see, once you will have, let's say, saved the form as a draft, you will then have to submit it here in the, let's say, general page of your application. So it's important that once you have completed the form with all the information required, you save it as a draft and then you submit it from here. Because we saw that we have different applications that are still in draft mode, so we were not sure whether it was on purpose or it was because the submit button at the moment it's a bit, let's say, in a position that can be somehow changed at some point. We are also working, of course, in terms of UX and UI improvement of the platform. And as Maria was saying, this call is a pilot, and so we are also using the call for developing and provide some feedback also on the new grants platform that will then, of course, also be used for the general open calls, so not only for these ones. So I hope that everything is clear also um, for the new grants. Don't know if you have questions. Of course, we also have added in the slides, but also on the website, the different links that can be useful. We have provided also a guideline for for how to apply to this open call, which is available on Zenodo, but also additional information are already displayed in the open call page. So you can also find them here, there. I think we can move to the Q&A sessions. I don't know if there are any other points, Maria, that you want to address? Maybe questions in the chat that we can reply to?
Yes, let's go to the chat now. Let's
Mm.
dedicate some time to the chat. I think I okay, so I've replied in written form to the initial questions up until Riccardo's question.
Okay.
Then we have two questions that I have not addressed yet. One is Ilya who has made a quite long comment on his initiative, his meeting. So the question would be, what is the current next operational route before action, mentor confirmation and CP routing, partner search, coordinator concept node, mission line chat. Okay, so Ilya, the ideal thing is you have most of the event already, let's say, set up in terms of agenda, in terms of people that are participating so that you have um, not all the details, but the majority of details figure out because in the application form, we ask you, okay, specific things about this. The application form, as Teresa showed, has two questions, two sections specifically. One is that weight the most in terms of the score that you will get. One is on the impact of the event. So as the more information you have about the meeting, what you are going to achieve via the meeting, what is the expected results, what you want to get, the more you have this type of information, the better you will be prepared to answer. And the other part that also, weights a little bit more in the evaluation is on the logistics part. So the organizational aspects, where you want to do it, if you already have some invoices from suppliers, etc. If you have indication of the quantification of the cost, the better. So the priority is to have your event organized on paper, let's say, as much as possible so that the proposal is stronger. And then in terms of Susan's question, so if you asked if the evaluation can take place on short notice as the event will be positioned during, okay, yes. So we initially mentioned that we wanted to basically collect a few submissions and then provide an initial feedback after summer. But then we are seeing that some of the submitted applications might have a, quite short deadline. So in case we spot any event that's happening very soon, we will start the evaluation and at least give you a feedback so you know whether you can count on the support or not. But important is that you submit, okay, the application, because if you complete everything but then you don't submit, it's not going into the evaluation process. So double check. We have many in draft, but we consider only the ones that are submitted. And then Riccardo asked, can you give... Okay, November is fine. We are not in a super rush. So yes, Susan, make sure you write everything and you submit with the precise dates on the platform. Riccardo, can you give more details on the thematic priorities? So we do not have a priority like we are having now with the traditional calls. We had open call 2 with a focus on the AI Act standards support, and open call 3 we can already anticipate will be focused on the Cyber Resilience Act. In this specific case, we do not privilege a topic over the other. It's important only that the topic is one of the topics that are covered in the ICT rolling plan. So the difference will be on how well the meeting is organized, and also on the expected impact on European participation and influence in the meeting. You will have a list, Riccardo and all, in the application form where you can select the topics, and all of the ones that you select will be eligible.
Okay, thanks, Maria. I don't know if we have anything else in the Q&A box. I don't think so.
Let me see. Maybe we have in the Q&A, you are right. So we have another, this, one is the same question from Ilya that we replied online. And then we have Ranganai. Since the standardization meeting call would be funded on behalf of an organization SEO, does that mean that the applicant needs to present a letter of approval or endorsement by the supporting SDOs, or does it mean the supporting should be included as member of the consortium? That's a very good point, Ranganai. I think both approaches are fine. So whether you attach, you have a space in the application where you can attach a document, you attach this type of endorsement or assignment that the SDO has given you to organize this meeting, or maybe because you are a chair, a convener, and you have this type of role, or you mention it as part of the organizing committee. We have not provided, a strict requirement on this, so both options are fine. It's important that you can prove that you are not, a stranger that is willing to organize an event on behalf of an SDO and is not part of the SDO or does not have any role in that committee. So this was also answered live.
Okay. So as we were saying, the call is now open. Fun. I mean, we are not aware. Let's say we cannot also provide when the call will be closed, but remember the budget that we are dedicating to this call, and remember the maximum amount fundable for each application. And so in this case, you will potentially, let's say, know how much money will it is available, and also more or less understand that the length of the call depends also a lot on the different applications that we will receive for the submission. And so yes, if you want to apply now, you can already apply on the website. I also suggest, of course, as always, to check the guidelines that we have provided on Zenodo, and to read them carefully also while filling in the application form, because it is very important to follow the rules. I don't know if there is any other question, any other points, Maria, you want to stress before closing. Otherwise, we can close the info session. I don't see any other questions. You're muted, Maria.
Sorry. Yeah,
No.
no, just I wrote it in the chat, but I will repeat. Please have a look at the guidelines that are published on the web page.
Website, yes.
Sometimes we get many questions via email whose answers are already in the guidelines. Maybe, yeah, we understand it's not maybe easy to find all the information. Maybe you forget, but if you double check the guidelines, in many cases you already find the answer to your doubt. Not always the case, of course, but please make sure you read those before asking directly to us. It's just faster for you and helps us in managing a little bit less amount of requests.
Of course, also just out of let's see, information, as I was saying, we are also testing the new grants platform. So all feedbacks that you might find while submitting the applications are very welcome. So feel free to send us emails in this case for the feedbacks on how the new grants works. We know we already have something to adjust. We have tested it several times, let's say, before using it for this call, but this was also an opportunity for us, let's say, to provide you with a more responsible and also better looking, hopefully, tool. which can be more useful both from the evaluator's point of view, but also from the applicant's point of view. So if you have any feedback on the functioning, let's say, of this new platform, please feel free to send it to us. We are happy to receive it.
That's a very good point, and actually a few notes on why we decided. Actually, we were not asked, okay, to change the platform by DC, but we decided to invest in this because after many years of Stand ICT, we know that if we use, a well-functioning, digital support for our processes is always better, and we have tried this to develop this new tool, which will allow us to be more flexible and also actually differentiate the type of course we are able actually to launch an open call which is totally different in terms of process, in terms of questions, in terms of criteria than the usual open call, exactly because we have a more flexible platform for this. The other one was, more dedicated only to be executed in a certain way and had some constraints. So we will experiment even more, and we hope we can use this type of platform even for other initiatives, beyond Send ICT. If you like it and if you help us improve it, then it's a product on its own that can be used, also in other projects and initiatives.
If we don't have any other points or questions, I think we can close the info session here. We will publish, of course, the recording and the slides on the website as soon as possible. Thanks a lot to everyone.
Many thanks, everyone.
Thank
Goodbye.
you.